Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here as we present your guide to successful sales tactics. My name is Ashley Arias, and I am the Business Product Marketing Specialist here at Hudson Valley Credit Union. A few housekeeping items before we start. We'll be running a live Q&A at the end of this session, so we've enabled the Q&A feature found on your taskbar and open the chat. You can use both of these to submit a question at any time during this presentation. If you need to jump off or if you missed parts of this webinar, no need to worry. We'll be sending the on-demand recording via email once it's available. Now let's meet today's presenter. With a long and distinguished career in retail banking, Carmen Carrozza brings a wealth of sales expertise as Assistant Vice President of Sales and Service at Hudson Valley Credit Union. He has over 31 years of experience in the industry and has been successful in exceeding growth goals, managing and developing sales plans, and overseeing teams of more than 200 retail employees. As an entrepreneur, he's owned his own coaching business and has even hosted his own radio show for many years. Today, he'll be your guide as we take a look at the sales funnel, business planning, and your competition. We hope you find this webinar informational and helpful in rebooting your business as 2020 progresses. Carmen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And I want to welcome everyone. I really appreciate you taking your time to spend with us today. We know everybody's time is valuable, and any time you take to spend with us, we appreciate. So thank you so much for being with us. Again, Carmen Carrozza, I've been in the banking business for a long time, in the commercial banking side, and now in the credit union for 6 years now. And much of that time has been spent in the sales and retail area. So many folks don't realize that banking is a retail business as far as especially on the branch side. And what we do from a marketing and sales perspective is always looking to do the best for our customers, members. And that's our goal on a daily basis, is to make sure we're not only fitting what our products to your needs, but making sure you are treated with the utmost respect, care, and sincerity in any of our branches. So we just want to make sure that happens every single day. So that's a big part of what I do and where I come from. And one of the reasons we're doing this webinar at this moment in time, and why it's so important, is, you know, with what's going on in the world and in our country and in our area. These are times where there's so much change and so many obstacles and so much unrest and unclear understanding of what should happen now, what's going on next, what are the rules coming down from the government, the state. We have to be sure we're keeping them up with that if we want to stay in business, if we want to be successful. I was down at in New York City during the 9/11, the World Trade tragedy, and in New York City, there was major change and major pivoting of what folks had to do to survive at the time, as far as businesses, especially Canal Street and going down in southern Manhattan. So it's really important to understand during these kinds of times, whether it's in a local area, you know, in a area where you know, you may have tornadoes in the South where they deal with hurricanes, especially this year. The crazy fires going on out west. What do you do once you get into those situations, and how do you survive those situations? But in the end, it's really about not just surviving, but thriving in the end. And that takes work, it takes time, it takes effort. It's not magical. It doesn't happen that way. So you know, we want to kind of set it to the point of the reality of where we are, but how can we get to a point where you can see the light and you can see success, not only today, but hopefully in the future. So let's move on to our, as we move forward on our next slide, if you will. That's me, so we'll go past that. So why are we here? Just as I said, to move forward with confidence, to make sure that the things we do today are building on where we want to go in the future. And be prepared whatever comes next. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Sometimes there is very bad economic conditions, right? We go through recessions, we go through economic downturns. Sometimes they're even local rather than even nationwide. So we have to be prepared for those. So if anything comes out of things like this, it's how do I prepare better? How do I know better for next time anything happens, right? Any type of issue that may change the seasonality of my business or change my business completely. So we'll move on to the next slide, and we'll talk about our agenda, which is we're going to talk about a sales funnel. Some of you, I'm sure, know about that, but we'll go through it and kind of what that means. Business planning, which is extremely critical. Your competition, customer point of view, where are you now, steps to move forward, and how will you get there? And that's kind of our plan for today. So stick with us. Well, let's start with where we really are, right? We're in the middle of the pandemic, and hopefully things are getting better. Let's hope we're getting to a place where everything will just heal from here. But it's important that you look at your state here in New York, the coronavirus.health.ny.gov. It'll keep you up to date on any changes statewide as far as openings, closings, what you can do, what you can't do. But it's really important to keep up with that, not only for yourself, but for your customers. When they come in, they're going to ask questions. They might not even ask just questions about your store, your business, but about what's going on in town. So it's really important to be up to date, to answer those questions as best you can, or give the best direction possibly. So it's a good site to go to. So the first thing we're going to do is ask you, those who are on our webinar today, how long you've been in business. Has it been, a short time, long time? It gives us kind of an idea of where you are, and that'll kind of point us in a direction of where we want to go with the entire webinar. So has it been just started? You're just getting started? Less than 3 years? Less than 10 years? Or over 10 years? So we just want to see, get an idea if you could do that real quickly for us. Wow. So we've got only 2 answers, and they're both just started and less than 3 years. So that's new businesses. That's really great. So this will really help you and fit what you're looking for, I'm sure, because as much as this fits any business, I don't care if you've been in business for a year or for 30 years, the things we talk about today will be a fit. But if you're just starting out, I think it'll be extremely important to you. So let's move to our next slide and talk about the sales funnel. So a sales funnel is just like you'd think of, right? You want to get as many folks to come in through the top of your funnel, and I call that discovery. I call it where people are discovering your business, and we're talking about folks who don't know who you are, and they might have heard your name, they might have heard of you somewhere, but now they've kind of made a connection. They said, let me see what these guys are about, whether it's food, whether it's a wholesaler, manufacturer, or any type of retail store. So we get through discovery, and now hopefully the next step is for them to engage with you. You might think of this, you could talk of it at the same time digitally, which means they click on your ad, or you could talk about them actually walking into your store, right? So they might have walked by 100 times, but now they've decided, hey, I'm going to open the door and actually walk in. And that's the same as on a digital ad, them looking at your ad 1,000,000 times, and when the one time they finally say, I'm going to click and find out more about this. So now they've actually engaged us. Now it's really about what do we have to offer them? How do we draw them? How do we find out if we're a fit, right? If we are a fit with that particular individual. And then they give us consideration. So they've actually looked at our ad. They've actually went in and filled out a form. They've come into our store and started looking around and said, I like this place. I think it's a good fit for me. So they give us consideration. And then finally, there's a purchase. And that's where the bottom of our funnel comes into play. Do they actually become a customer, true customer? They become a member. They become, an existing member of ours now because they've made a purchase. And that's how they get through that funnel. And on the next page, we'll look at what affects that funnel, because it's really important to understand that's the actuality, how it all works, but really what affects it. So how do we get someone to look at our business as something viable, something that may be of interest to them, and add value to whatever they want to do or whatever they want to accomplish or buy. So retention and growth, right? That's a big part of this whole piece. You know, how do we retain somebody as they go through that funnel? How do we keep them engaged? And then, of course, how do we grow that customer once they've become engaged with us? Because ROR, I learned a long time ago, a gentleman on my show, my radio show back then, talked about return on relationships. And it's extremely important to look at this. And he really was passionate about, so you get a member and you get a customer and you get them to come through and you get them to buy something. Now what? Now what do you do? How do you make them loyal to you, make them feel trusted, make them feel like this is the place to be, where they will refer other customers or other friends or family to you? How will that happen? And that's up to you. That's a big part of that is up to you as a business owner. How you'll do that? Your reputation. Your reputation follows you everywhere, right? Just like as we are as individuals. Do people feel like, hey, this place is really new, it's clean, it's sharp, they've got kind of cutting edge stuff, or gee, they're very traditional, I've heard that they're perfect for me, they have traditional stuff. On the other side of that, it's very easy to end up with a reputation risk, which can negate some of that, where somebody said they don't have good hours, or you know what, they never have anything I want when I go in there. And then you can move that even to, we'll talk about more of this later, but the social media aspects of reputation risk, which can really affect your business, especially in today's crazy world where everybody's on their on social media, everybody's looking at their phone, and what those effects could be for your business. And community involvement is really important, of course. They want to know you're integrated into that community. Are you involved in anything that goes on in town? Do you sponsor things? Are you connected with other businesses in the area from working together, or do they know you from or the school, or they know you from coaching, or they know you from other areas in town, just not from your business? So it's really important to be part of the community in which you serve. And the customer experience, which is critical to any business, and that is, what's the experience from the day the moment of truth, as I call it, that they found out about your business or saw your business, to as they've gone through that funnel, and not only that, but as they've become part of your community of your business, what's that experience like? And how would they talk about that when they talk to somebody else? It's a great experience. Oh, I love it, but here's some issues I have. The wait time is bad. I go in and sometimes they don't always have my size. So, all those things affect the experience of that individual and how loyal and how much they will tell other folks about your particular business. So let's talk about the touch points of your business. There's your store, whatever that may be, right? Your store may be a website. It might be where you work out of your home. It might be a retail facility, or it might be a larger facility out of the mainstream of the business of the town. So it's where you do business, basically, or where people find you or see you. And of course, on phones are still important. People like to call and talk to a human being. So it's really important to know what part that plays in your business. And then digitally. Digitally is extremely important today, and more important to others than it is to some of the smaller businesses. But in today's world, I personally think it's extremely important to any business. Every business should be thinking digitally today. What can they do better, smarter, to fit their business as best as they possibly can? So when we talk about the digital side, we're talking about their social presence, and that includes everything, their social footprint. Are they on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and many of the other, social media sites out there that often folks are using? Who's using them demographically, of course, and then your website. How static your website may be, or is it something I go on there and I see something different every time I go there? Is there video? Is there good transitions going on your website? Are there real important things coming to me from are they having promotions, or is there something particular you're discounting this month? I want to know that when I go to your website. And advertising. What kind of advertising do you use? Are you using billboards? Do you have airplanes flying with your banner behind them? There's different types of advertising today, more than the yellow pages from years past. So now it's looking at, do I advertise digitally? Do I advertise more locally? Do I advertise in newspapers still? What is the best way to touch the folks I need to get to? Extremely important. So when we talk about all this, we're going to talk about a business plan. So I really would like to know, from our point of view, another poll question for you about business plans. So if you could answer that question, do you have a written business plan? And again, written is important. Having been in this business a long time, many business owners, I have this great idea, I'm going to get a business started. And then once I talked to them, I said, so what's your plan? Do you have a plan? And it was basically in their head. And that's okay. But a written plan brings you to a whole other level. So it's extremely important to have a written business plan. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And no. And that's the normal answer. We find about 80% of businesses don't have a written plan, but we'll look at the next slide, and that'll kind of give us a story of where this goes. But yeah, another question we have is how often you review it. Is it every 6 months, once a year, or never? So given that the answer before was no, I think we're probably going to get that kind of answer here, which is never. Because if you don't have a plan, I don't think it's going to be very easy to really look at it. So let's move on to our next slide. Talk about a business plan. And a business plan really is a map of your business. It really tells you from A to Z what you're about, who owns it, and where you're going to go, what you want to accomplish. And it sounds easy. It sounds like you could all put that in your head, but having written, half a dozen in my life, they're extremely important. And you don't know it until you start to write it. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll start to look at some of the reasons why. Just as we said, business failure rates, according to the SBA, in the first year, 30% don't succeed, 50% after 5 years, and 2/3 of businesses don't make it to the 10th year. And there's a reason for that. If you look down if you look at the SBA site or almost any other business site of why businesses fail, it's almost the same reasons, because they don't have a business plan. And the first obstacle they hit brings them to a bad place. And that can continue because unfortunately things never work out the way you want them to. And that can really create a lot of problems for your business as you move forward. Just like we are today, this is one of the things in our life that teaches us we need to be pliable. We need to be able to pivot. We need to think about options and iterations of our business as quickly as we can. Let's go to our next slide and talk about what actually a plan is made of. So what is your product and service? What are you actually offering me? And who's your audience? Many times I hear, well, anybody. I have anybody come to my business. But the reality is, if you're selling to everybody, you're usually not that successful. You need to have some type of niche that you're looking at, some demographic that fits your product or service best. So it's important to think about that and have that in written documentation. And what makes it different? What makes your product different than the guy down the street or, you know, somebody online? And sometimes it's not the product itself, but it's other aspects of it. Maybe it's your service, the way you deliver it, the way it looks, something it does a little differently than somebody else. Who's who and who does what in your business? You may be the owner, but what do you actually do? Do you sell? Do you just do the administration? Do you do the advertising? Are you in the background? Who does what? Do you have some key people in your business who are going to be supporting you? And what do they do? And how are they going to help it? Because remember, sometimes one of the key things you're going to do with a business plan is give this to an investor or give it to a bank or the SBA if you're looking for loans, right? And it's so important that when you give that to them, they look at it and say, wow, they're compelled to think this is going to be successful. If they don't feel it's going to be successful, who in their right mind is going to give you money? So that's the idea of a plan, is to make sure it really shows and gives you gives somebody else the understanding of what you're about and what you want to accomplish. How will people know who you are and what you offer? So it's important to have in the plan what you actually offer and how you're going to deliver it. So how will people know what you offer? How will you deliver your product or service? So again, is it going to be by mail? Is it going to be out of a store? Your website? Through social media, you're going to do a lot of advertising there. So again, delivery method is important for people to know and understand, because that gives me, again, a picture of here's my product, here's who does what, here's how we're going to deliver it, and here's the value it's going to offer. What does success look like? That's really important for you to know that going in to your business. Some folks don't really know, they think, oh, we need to make money, which is absolutely fantastic. But really, what does success look like? What are the levels you want to reach and when? Really important to keep you in business, because sometimes not looking at that properly can lead you in a wrong path, because you'll start to look at things as being okay, but not really reaching the pinnacles or points you really need to be successful in the time span you want to or need to. And SWOT analysis. Some folks use this, some don't know what it is, and I'll give you a little explanation of it. But it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to your business. And the strengths and weaknesses part are the internal pieces. Those are what are our strengths and our weaknesses. Trying to look at it objectively as you possibly can. When you look at a strength, are we the right place in town? If you're a retail store in town, hey, we are right in the busiest area of town. Might be a strength for you. A weakness may be that your store is in an area that's busy, but there's another area in town that might have fit you better, but you couldn't get a lease there. So that might be a weakness that it could affect your business in the long run. Opportunities and threats are usually something that's coming in from the outside. So an opportunity and a threat, for instance, might be, so an opportunity, you might look at it as, hey, you know what? We know that there's a big box store coming in, but it's 45 minutes away. That creates more opportunity for me, that it's that far away from us. If they're going to open 20 minutes away from me, that would be a threat, obviously. Other threats could be, there's a downturn coming in the economy that could affect my product or service. So those are things you need to look at and be part of your analysis, so that you can understand, again, where you are now, where you want to be, how you're going to get there, and understand that there may be some obstacles in your way. So putting your plan together, these are the pieces you're going to look at. Now, a big part of that is your cash flow. If you go for a loan, if you're looking at your business holistically and saying, okay, how do we make it from month to month? Cash flow is extremely important. It's a way for anyone from the outside, your accountant and a banker, to look at it and say, is this viable? Is this something that is looking at success? Is this something that I can look at and say, I'd like to invest in this if it was me? So you look at your expenses, your sales and your margins, right? Your margins, again, we have new businesses on the webinar. What is your margin? Is it in line with others in your market? Should it be, or maybe it shouldn't? Maybe you are at a higher level. You want a higher price point, so you might want to extend your margin a little higher than somebody else down the street. But really important to study that and understand it, because that could be the difference between success and failure. If somebody comes in your store and thinks your price too high, and you have to make some adjustments, you don't want to have to do that, at least going in. And your payments, what are you paying out? You got to calculate things. What are my absolute expenses? What are the things I have to pay? Your lease, your utilities, your mortgage, whatever it may be. And then your working expenses. Who do you pay? Your vendors. You pay for supplies. You pay for your payroll. So all those other expenses get added in, and it helps you figure out what you need to survive and thrive. That is a key element, especially today, right? Because if you're in business today, you really have to understand what is different today than was 6 months ago, right? Back in late 19 or early 2020. What do I have to do in my business differently? What do I have to change? So that's where this is all leading us, right? The business plan, your cash flow. It's dramatically changed for some business, especially for restaurants in today's world. And they have to figure out how do we make it through this. We'll go to our next slide and talk about marketing a little bit. What do your customers want now, right? Differently today than they did 6 months ago. What are their new behaviors? So a customer today now they don't want to come in. Right? A lot of customers don't want to come in. We find in the banking business, there's a lot of our members who go to the drive-up, have been going to the drive-up, and they're probably not going to change that habit for quite a while. Some may be just comfortable not limiting how many businesses they go into. So one of the things a bank offers, obviously, is a drive-up window. So many of our members have moved there, and now we'll have to see how long will it be till they decide, yeah, it's safe or more comfortable to come back, and maybe they won't. Maybe they found this is more comfortable for them. And, so that's a behavioral change for them also. Yeah, and what do they feel about safety, right? This all feeds into the same thing. You have to understand as a business, what do your members feel, or what do your customers feel about safety in your business, and more in the entirety, if you will. Are we being safe enough? Are we making our members and customers feel comfortable when they walk through the door? How do they feel about your product, your service, your industry today again, rather than they did 6 months ago? 6 months ago, they didn't even think about it, right? They just went in, bought it, did whatever they had to do. In today's world, they may think differently. Safety measures in place. Is the product safe? Is the service still usable for them? Is it still valuable for them? So those are all things folks are thinking about because it's so important to them to think deeply more about what they want to use your product for, or how they want to use it, than they did just a short time ago. And what's the feeling in your marketplace? Are you talking to other business owners? What's the feeling? Is there something you could do as a group? Signage, work together, partner together, that can help the customers in your area feel better and safer when they come into your market. These are all the things you have to think about from a marketing standpoint to make it in today's environment. So when we talk about differentiation, it's really important as a business. What differentiates you from somebody else, selling the same thing or in the same market? And one of the things we talk about is brand, and we look at Amazon, Coke, Disney especially, as brands. When I look at Disney, I don't just see Disney, the letters, but I see Disney World, Disneyland. I see Mickey Mouse. It makes you visualize that particular company. The same with Coke and Amazon and Target, Apple, Pampers. They're all major brands, and it's really just to bring to light what branding can do for you. And again, branding isn't just a logo. you build a brand for yourself in your company, and that's more what I want to talk about with this slide, is how do you build a brand, and what is your brand? What do you want it to be, and what do customers think it is and feel it is? Because sometimes you may not even want to build a brand in a certain direction, but it happens. It may be people love the service in your business. They come in and they just love the service, and they'll come in just for that. It almost bypasses the product. There's a deli in our town, for instance, that there's 3 delis. One deli, they slice stuff for cold cuts so thin that when you bring it home, it's all stuck together. There's another deli that makes it kind of thick, and it's fine. There's another one, it's just perfect, kind of like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, just perfect. But where do we go? We go to the place that cuts it real thin, even though it gets a little mushy. we go there only because their service is so fantastic. They know us by name. They treat us like kings and queens. So we go there. So it tells you that service is their brand. It's not the product per se, but it's actually the service they offer. And then the brand's good enough and reaches a certain level of acceptance that people will go there. So you have to really look at that from externally to say what is it that drives folks into our place of business and buys our products and services. So that is your brand. And if you don't have one, or if you don't know what that is, it's really important that you either start to build it, or you really think about where do we want this business to go, so we have a solid brand out there that differentiates us from the competition, whether your competition is global, whether it's local, whether it's regional, whether it's a big box store. What makes folks want to come to see you and see your business rather than someone else? So that's really the key element here. The differentiation is that small element. It might be the smallest thing, but it makes you different, makes people want to go to you. Some of the things that have dramatically changed recently is Amazon, I don't know if you've seen, just opened a grocery store out in California. And it's a grocery store that is very technologically advanced. They have what they call, dash carts. So you I think that fits a couple of bags you put in your cart, and you go through, as you buy things, it already knows what you're putting in there. It reads how much it costs. And when you leave, it just charges your card for that amount. So again, they are always thinking ahead of the game, right? Amazon, they're always out here somewhere saying, okay, let everybody try to match us. So they have created this so that they can kind of tell the world, we're on the edge. Sometimes it's their message, right? They started as a bookstore, and here they are, one of the leaders in the world, and the most visited website. They do about 180 billion in sales. So huge numbers, 280 billion in sales. So big numbers, but really based on a simple program. We think most of their money is made by just us buying stuff, but it's only 50% because they've looked at their model. And now they've created more services. They have web services. They have their premier program. So what they did is they said that creates more of our revenue than just people buying stuff, because that they can't control as much. So really important things to think about of how they think and how we should be thinking, even as the smallest businesses, think how larger businesses think, so we can create the most value for our members and differentiate ourselves the best way we possibly can. Let's go to our next slide. So talking about value, what's your offer? When somebody comes in, what do you actually offer them? What are the benefits of your price? And we talked about that a little earlier, right? What's your margin? And what are you building in there to make sure you're profitable, but at the same time, there's a value to your customer? How will your product make their life better, right? I don't care if it's cold cuts or an automobile. You're making my life better by going in there. Is it your service? Is it your quality? Is it your upscale products? Is it your discounts? Is it, what is it that makes you different, that makes somebody want to buy your stuff? And show example of how it works. always be able to tell folks why your product is valuable and why other folks think it's valuable. If you have a website and social media, even better, because you can use that to show videos and photos of folks with your product and service. Those are great ways of making people more engaged with your business. Always think of it as if you were in their shoes. One thing I found some businesses in my career really had trouble with is understanding their customer. And as much as we, the oldest adage, right? Customer comes first. Think they're doing that, but really aren't. They're thinking of what makes things easier for them, or how do they want to do things that they're in their comfort zone. But really, you have to really think about what does our customer want? What changes have happened, especially recently, that they want from me, rather than what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. That makes all the difference in the world to a customer. That you understand them 100%. It makes them breathe easier. It makes them more comfortable. It makes them feel like you understand them. And all in all, it makes them more of a loyal customer to you. So let's look at this big picture now. Forced dynamic change in business strategies and customer behavior. I'll say that again. Forced dynamic change in business strategies and customer behavior. So that's what's going on now. So when we look at this, sometimes you back off and say, boy, a lot of the things that are going on now, I know, and I'm sure, and I've done enough research and reading, that a lot of these businesses wanted to do in the future. Curbside, more automated applications for you to use to ease doing business with them, convenience. But it was always, nobody else is doing it, we're gonna wait. Or, maybe it's not the right time. Business decisions that people make. But now what happened is everybody was forced into making those changes. And what happens when you do that? It becomes a little ugly, right? Money, time, effort, extreme change, people lose their jobs. It's not good. It's not a good time. But it helps us learn. It helps us learn for the future and gives us opportunity to think differently and to say, what can I do differently now? What other iterations can I come up with within my business? How can I do things smarter, more efficiently, save money in a better way, and still make things better for my customers? What can I do to make that happen? So unfortunately, this was forced upon us, but many times it isn't. Economic downturns, a season, we have a ski mountain near us here, and there's been winters here with barely any snow, and they've tried to make snow, they've tried different things, but that affects their business dramatically. So what they've done is now they have like the Halloween hayride for like 4 months of the year when that happens. But it's smart. It's a way for them to continue to make money. They advertise it all over. They get folks from all over the counties in our area. So again, it's look, what can we do differently to stay in business and continue to make money and make hopefully it can keep our employees, because that's a major part of what I think most small businesses want to do. This recent PPP program that was just offered did the same thing. It was really to help small businesses keep their employees. So really important. And I know as a small business owner, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure it's part of your family, if you will, your employees. So it's important you make that happen. Let's go to our next slide. So what do customers want today? When we talk about sales and sales tactics, all the things we talked about are enveloped in sales tactics. But it's what do customers want from us today? And all the studies have shown, and anything from a research point of view, they want to make sure we're here for you. We're here for you, and that's really key. The emotional bond, a sincere relationship, that we really care for them, the feeling of trust, continuous adaptation. We're adapting to whatever is going on, right? Even in this pandemic, we've seen in the last 5-6 months, we've seen different things come out of the from the government. Different things comes from the science world of, hey, we need a mask, or we need to do this differently, or how we wash our hands and all that kind of stuff, and distancing. And it constantly adapting to that as we've gone through this. So it becomes, okay, so for the safety of my customers, what do I have to do today to make sure they're comfortable, that they feel like coming in my store is absolutely no hazard whatsoever. We're keeping their health and wellness at the top of our list, and we're giving them clear information and direction, whether that's signage, whether that's communication, whether that's through your website, social media. However that's done, it should be consistent, and it should be very clear of what you do, what you're doing today to help your members and your customers stay safe with your product or service and in your store. Extremely important, and again, the safety issue, no touching, distancing, how you can do things online differently, and how things you can do online that you might have done in their store or buy in their store that you can now do online, and teaching them how to do that and give them direction to make that easy for them. What tone, body language, and sincerity are we using when we talk to them? Again, we've seen where, hey, there's a lot of anxiety for employees too, right? Especially a few months ago when this all started, and there was employees out there, oh my gosh, I got to work, and I have people coming to me, and my gosh, I'm at risk. There was a lot of that going on. So now that hopefully we're at a point where we know how to keep each other safe, we're using the right tone with our customers. We're using the right body language. We're using the right language for your customer. And, we're very sincere. It's important that, and we're going to go to that next, when we go to the next slide, we'll talk about that, how to look at that from a sales perspective. Ease of use, again, online, change to meet the new environment, right? The curbside delivery, the delivery going to people's homes and delivering product and services, doing it online, all those types of things can help. And security, the ability to connect, simple communication, and stability, seamless delivery. So again, the easier we make it for your customer, the more they're going to continue to be loyal to your business, and not think of others as better than you because they're bigger, or they advertise more, or whatever they do. You can make that happen. So this comes to our sales model. Now, I've dealt with small businesses, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of small businesses in my career. This is a big part that they miss. They think because they're small, they don't need a sales model, or they think they don't need to train their staff in the sales world, because sometimes there's confusion between sales and service. But if you're really good at sales, you're great at service, because that's what sales are about, really, is giving ultimate service to your customer, that they feel like you're the place to buy your product and service. So consistency, authenticity, they see that in every person that works for your business. They see it on your online and social media. They see it through your website. They feel that you really care about them, that you're educating them and making them aware. It's so important to be that person and that business for our customers. Educate them in any way you can about your product, about your service, about safety, about things they can do smarter or differently for themselves today. Educating and making people aware will keep people engaged with your business and the language of your business. It's really important, again, to think about what is the language we want to use in our business, and everybody on your team understands what that is and how it works, how to respond to a member or a customer when they ask you a question. What are the most asked questions when folks come into your store? How do you respond to those? How do you want everybody on your team to respond to those? Whether it's on the phone, whether it's through social media, or whether it's face-to-face. Open-ended questions. What are the kind of questions you want your team to ask members so that they feel that you care about them. So if somebody walks in, can I help you? Yes, no. Yeah, I'm looking for this. Okay. Gee, what type are you looking for? Are you buying it for any specific purpose? Oh, is there any particular event that's happening that I can help decide which way to go with that? So asking questions that make the member feel more comfortable, give them more direction, make them feel that you care, are really important. And always ask for feedback from customers. How'd we do today? Is there anything you feel we could do a little differently? Were you happy with your experience today in our store? Hey, how do you like our social media? Do you like it? What do you think? Do you watch some of our posts? Have you seen some of our posts? Do you read them? How do you feel about our website? Do you ever go there? Have you ever seen it? So it teaches you, right? And it helps you learn more about what your customers like, don't like, and you can find trends in those. And if you do find trends, you can start to work with those. What do we want our customers to feel that they're not feeling now? So asking for feedback, again, will help you understand your business better and what direction you want to go. Problem resolution, another extremely important key element, because nothing turns a customer away more than not solving a problem appropriately. In the banking business, for instance, you'd think most people would leave because of fees and so on, but most folks leave because they're just not happy with the way that you resolve the problem of theirs. So in your store, how do you resolve problems? Is it only the boss? Is it only you that can make decisions, or somebody on your team or manager makes decisions? How do you want it to be? And what are your customers saying or feeling? Because either smallest store to the largest, problem resolution is extremely important. I'm spending my money on your product or service. And if you make a mistake, mistakes happen in every store and every business. But the real key is, how do you resolve it? And does everybody on your team know how that happens, how to resolve those problems? And again, if you're a sole owner and you're doing it, are you doing it the best you possibly can? Are you resolving issues that really make a member feel like, boy, they really understood how that affected me and they resolved it properly, and I'm going to give them another shot. That's what we want. The last thing you ever want is somebody being angry or feeling like you didn't resolve a problem for them and you weren't fair to them, right? That's not what you want. And be pliable. Be able to, you gotta be able to pivot. You gotta be able to change things. That's part of asking for feedback. That's part of problem resolution. What are the problems people are having with my organization, and how can I either avoid them next time or solve them easier? Surveys. Boy, again, a great way to find out information. You can do it through social media. You can do it through your website. You can do it through email. Building yourself a CRM, as we say, and that's a customer list, if you will. So there's lots of ways you can do that today that can help you. And feedback through social media, of course, really important. And a sales training plan. So as you hire someone, if they're going to be on the phone, if they're going to be in front of customers, customer facing, if they're going to be in the back helping, what do you want them to know? How do you want them to understand what your sales culture is in your organization? Again, I don't care if you're one person or 100, there's a culture you have for your business. And making sure everybody on your team understands what that culture is, what the expectations are, again, what the language is, how we treat a customer, how we resolve issues, how we learn more about customers, how we move them to the products and services that are the best fit for them. All those types of things are through sales training. And if you can't do it yourself, reach out. There's plenty of organizations out there that can help you. They're online and they're face-to-face. There's coaches out there that are sales coaches that can really help you achieve some of those things that you may not think are really important, but really can make a difference from people walking in and walking out, or walking in and getting a bad answer to a question and never coming back again. You don't even know that because of the culture you didn't pay enough attention to. So no is not bad. You know, in sales, no is not a bad thing because we learn more from no than we do from yes much of the time. Because yes is easy, right? If somebody says, sure, yeah, I love your stuff and all that, we feel good, and it's great for business. But when you learn no, it really helps you because, you know, where you're clear in delivering your product or service, that goes back to some of the things we talked about on the last slide. Were you clear enough? That could be signage. It could be all your online messaging. It could be different ways. It could be some of your personnel. Were you clear in delivering your product and service? Do they need more information? Are you not giving them enough information? Are you not offering enough information? Is there, you know, could you do things better as far as communicating to your customer? Do they want to get a better feel for your business? And sometimes there's that bit of trepidation of a customer that they're not really sure what it is, but you need to know what that is. You have to understand that. So you really need to learn about your customer, the folks that walk in. What do they want? What do they feel? What are the things that are going to make them come back? Is the timing not right? Sometimes it's just not the right time for that customer. So how do you make them feel like when it is the right time, you're the place to come back to? So, you know, if it becomes more of, oh, well, sorry, and they walk out. But if you connect them maybe to your social media, and maybe you give them a card with a discount for the next time they come in. Maybe they can refer some folks that it is the right time for them. So you really got to think deeper about this, not just, oh, well, and let that person walk out and never think of you again. And, you know, always, what can you learn from no? Always think about it, because it's truly the way salespeople have learned over the years the best about themselves as salespeople. Did I come on too strong? Did I not really give them the proper feel of my product and service? Was I not clear? Many times that's what it is. No often means give me more information. No sometimes makes me feel, I didn't like the way you put that. Can you put it another way? So psychologically, that's what no is many times. It's not, no, I don't want this, get me out of here. It's really about how you can help them better, respond better, educate them better, and give them a better feel. Sometimes the best answer to no, so is there anything I didn't explain properly to you? Was there anything you weren't clear on? And many times that answer will be, yeah, I wanted to know more about this. So give them the opportunity to speak and offer what their thoughts are, because no can really help you learn more about your business and about how you deliver. Research and reposition. So all this is about pivoting and adjusting. So your inventory, if you have inventory, what do you need to adjust as far as your inventory today versus, you know, a year ago or 6 months ago? Maybe you want to change your inventory. Maybe you want to make adjustments to your vendors, right? The folks that sell to you. Are they giving you the best price? When was the last time you went out there and did some research to see, maybe I could use some different vendors out there. Maybe the product they're offering me for their price point is not the best out there. You know, can I do better somewhere else? The way we deliver our product and service, right? Maybe I should have more deliveries. Maybe I should offer that more. Maybe I'm not positioning it right. We do. Let's say you do deliver, but nobody knows it. How can I market that better through my social media, my website, signage, however you want to deliver that? Your product or service set, again, is it the right product or service set today? Do you need to relook at it? If you own a gift shop, if you own a clothing store, if you own a, you know, some type of manufacturer product, is that the right one today, moving to the future? Do you have to do some adjusting to it? Is there something different you can sell, or maybe there's a complement or something that you can sell that will supplement what your product or service is today? And you got to know your customer's psychographics, especially today, right? Because psychographics tells us a lot about where is a customer moving, what are they buying, do they stay in town or do they shop out of town? Do they like discounts? Do they like upscale products versus, you know, the everyday stuff? So it really gives you a sense of where the movement and where people go and what they do on a weekly, daily basis when they're shopping, out and about. But it's really good to understand that. And there's websites you can go on to learn more about that. And sometimes you could do some studies yourself just to get a better sense of where's that movement. Sometimes just talking to other folks in the community and getting a better sense of, I worked in Chapco in Mid-Westchester for a long time. And a lot of folks there, they shopped in Manhattan. That's where they went to shop. So when they came in to town, all the businesses in town looked at how do we complement what they're buying in New York City? What can we deliver that they can't there? So thought processes have to go into not just thinking, oh, well, we're not doing well, or, oh, gee, people are doing things differently. Well, what are they doing differently? And how can you help yourself as you look at that? Here's a couple of quick examples of some companies that were able to pivot on the spot. So Pods, which is a portable on-demand storage company, what they did is they retrofitted its product to create pop-up patient isolation tents for the Army Corps of Engineers. So again, they pivoted. They said, hey, you know what? This is right now we could probably not only do better, but do something that they can talk about as far as doing something there for their community and for the nation, if you will, by helping the Army Corps of Engineers with these pop-up tents that they could put almost anywhere. Enterprise Rent-A-Car thought this was interesting. They are based on the travel industry. And when all this started to happen and nobody was going anywhere anymore, right? So they could have easily just said, oh, well, that's the end of our business. But what they did is they moved more towards companies that were delivering products and services to customers, to rent cars to them that normally didn't do that before. And they came out of it pretty well. So again, it's using your creativity and your thought process now, but how can that help you in the future when the next downturn happens, or when, again, whatever that particular issue may be that changes things, whether it's weather, or whether it's economy, or whether it's just change in technology. Sometimes that'll change things, the way people think or do things, just like they do today with websites and social media. So make sure you're always thinking about it. That's why a business plan is extremely important, and to revising it as a living document, to look at it and say, what can we do a little differently? Gee, we wanted to be here in 6 months. What do we have to change today to be on track to be where we want to be in 6 months? And we want to look at our applications, our websites. Do you need an app? Have you ever had an app? Now, they can be a little expensive, but are they worth it for you? Is it something can really turn your business to the better for you? Is that something in the future that could be a real something you can really build on by having an app, be able to deliver your product and service in a different way, or to have a shopping cart online. Coupons, loyalty programs, these are all ways for you to help drive business and gain more business from customers, and also referrals. So people love to talk about, hey, if I buy 4, they give me 1 free. If I get 5 coupons, they let me do this. Promotions, you might have, Fantastic Fridays, whatever you want to do, but promotion-wise, to be able to advertise it, change things up, change things on your website, your social media, be able to show pictures, videos of things that go on crazy Thursdays, or whatever you want to do. And again, building a CRM, we talked about it earlier, but it's really critical in today's world to be able to communicate and help your customers learn more about you, what you do, and keep in touch with them through emails, through text messaging, through social media and your website. But to work outbound, and that means to be able to reach out to them and not sell per se, but give information, make them laugh, educate them, and tell maybe tidbits more about how you can help them through your business, what value you add to their business or to their life. So building a CRM in today's world is really important. You can do that a lot of times through a merchant services account. In today's world, they're very far advanced. So sometimes just through merchant services, the folks who do your Visa card and credit cards, they can help you to learn how they can help you build a CRM through your business. And lastly, staying current with your industry. Know what is going on in your industry. What are the trends? What are the changes? What are the demographics in your area? Are they changing in any way? Are there new markets for you? Are there new ways for you to look at business? Can you look out of market? How are you reaching out from your website's point of view and your social media point of view? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to grab your customers from? And you always look local, national, and global. All that is your competition, right? And today, with the small world we have between social media and websites and digital advertising, somebody across the country could be, your worst enemy as far as competition. So know what they're doing, know how they're doing things, so you can make smart decisions of how you want to move forward with your business from a marketing and sales perspective, so that you can stay in line and not only succeed, but thrive as you move forward. That's the way you do it. You can look at, in the industry side, you could look at white papers, industry publications, but make sure you keep staying current on what's going on, not locally, but nationally and globally in your business, in your industry, so you can stay ahead of the game rather than be one of the folks that are behind. I want to thank you so much for being on this webinar today, and hopefully you picked up some hints, some ideas on the marketing and sales side, so you can do business smarter and better, not only today but as you move forward. Ashley, do we have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Carmen. You've given us all a lot to think about today, and we certainly appreciate you being here. Some questions that have come in. Where should I put my marketing efforts while working through this pandemic to keep local engagement?
Great question. I would look at anything that is the least cost to you at this point. So social media is an easy way to get your message out to folks. And if, what I find is a lot of small business owners, Ashley, are not, the best at technology at times. So reach out. There's plenty of folks out there that can help you. Go to your local college, sometimes even high school. There's folks in the community, and if you look locally at folks who are social media or marketing specialists, they can help you. And sometimes they're from a cost perspective, it's not that bad, and it's definitely cost effective for you. But those are places you can reach out. But definitely through social media, your website. If you have somebody who's monitoring your website now, that's great. But look at ways when people come out to you and you can reach out to them easier without much cost.
Great. I'd like to reward my small staff for their efforts to help us increase sales. What are ways that I can do that?
Terrific question. Rewarding and recognizing staff is so important, whether you have a small staff or large staff. Sometimes lunch for the team is a great thing. And from the owner's perspective, manager perspective, giving them some type of, an award for excellence, however you want to name it. I think it's important that you make sure you're clear as far as what they're being rewarded for. And recognizing them in front of their peers, I think, is really important. I think that's special. Some folks always, money, 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 but recognition, we've found through a lot of research that's what folks want. They want some recognition. So when they do the right things that you've set the expectations for, and they've done those right things, those are great ways. And whether you want to bring everybody to dinner, bring that person to dinner, have a lunch for the team, but small things sometimes go a long way.
Thank you. How does someone keep up to date on their target market?
That's a great question, because there's not always easy ways locally to find out what's going on. The best way is through your town board, Your Chamber of Commerce will help you tremendously as far as what businesses are coming in and out of town. Sometimes they'll even talk to you about who's investing or looking to invest in town. There may be a particular big box store that's looking. They might not let them in, but they're telling you they're looking in, and they say, and when you start to really find out why, through like planning boards and things like that, you go to planning board meetings, you start to really see if there's things changing in your particular market, and keeping an eye on, are there developments coming in? Are there major construction going on? Those are things you could look at locally. Besides, obviously the census and things like that give you a big picture. But I think keeping in touch with your town and communicating with others in your in the business area, the Chamber of Commerce, and so will really help.
Great. This one refers to something that you mentioned previously in the presentation. What should a sales training plan include?
Sales training, excellent question. And I'm so glad somebody's interested. But sales training is something I do all the time, but that is really, it should include, if you will, what you want to see when the member walks in. What is, from your point of view as the owner, a member connects with your business. They walk in the door. What do you want that customer to feel? What do you want them to, how do you want them to interact with your employees? What are your expectations of your employees? If you start to think about that and write all that down, what are the expectations you have? And if you go through what you do as a business owner with your customers, you start to build, okay, here's the things I want to do. How do I now teach my employees how to do these things the best they possibly can? Do some research. There's plenty online. If you look at, sales planning, sales training, there's folks you can hire that can help you with these things. Again, sales coaches are great at this stuff. And they're, again, if you hire them as a consultant for a short time, they can help you tremendously. And it's well worth the value to have a professional come in and help out.
Thank you. This one's from the audience. Should I provide guarantees of service to my customers? Some competitors offer things like 100% refund, no questions asked, which seems hard to do.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. You got to look at, you've got to look at a lot of different things, the cost of your product and service. But what you can do is, rather than 100%, you can really look at it on a case-by-case basis and make smart decisions. But I have nothing against 100%. I'm going to just say that up front, because to me, you want to make that person whole. The problem with that is sometimes what you do is you get folks taking advantage of you for that. So if you put it out there, as a small business owner, you can get taken advantage of. But I would say as a business, just be smart about what your cost is, what you're putting out there, because there's so many different variations of how you could do this. But as an owner, withhold that right to give 100%, because there are times when that is absolutely the right thing to do, and not to think too much about it, because during that process, that's when you lose people. It's more important to make that decision quick. If you're going to do it, make that decision quick and make it happen.
All right. What are your favorite questions to ask prospects?
Say that again, Ash.
What are your favorite questions to ask prospects?
To ask prospective customers?
Yes.
Yeah, terrific question. If they're talking about your business, the things you want to ask them is, why? Why us? Why are you choosing us, or why are you coming to our store? What made you make that decision? You learn so much from that. And the exit part is really important. So not only, but why, and then once they're there, so tell me what we could do better. What could we do smarter? What would help you, that you think we were the best place on earth to shop? Sometimes those are the kind of questions you want to ask somebody to really think about it. And the exit part of it too, are the survey, if you will, of, so, you've come a few times. What do you think? Do you really think we do a great job? Where could we do better? What do you think of our service? Is our product meeting your standards? Would you refer us to someone else? Those are smart questions to ask to customers as they come in and as they leave.
Perfect. Thank you. This question says, I often find myself providing extensive discounts in order to counter competitors, but that isn't helping me in terms of maintaining some level of profitability. What do you think?
Yeah, boy, I tell you, you're speaking the language of a lot of small businesses out there with that question. You have to create value, right? Somebody pays for something and they want to know there's value. Just as I said earlier at the deli, right? I go in there even though the meat thing isn't the best. They don't put it together the best way possible sometimes, but they give me such great service. I go there. So you really have to think, what's the value I can add that I can justify, if you will, my price, if that makes sense. Now, that takes some thinking sometimes. You have to, maybe it's your packaging. Maybe it's the way you deliver it. Maybe it's something you can add some value afterwards. Maybe you can add a service or something plus the product. So start to be a little more creative. But remember, think about, if I'm going to ask for this price, I have to make sure that the value is there for the member. And I have to learn, why are they going somewhere else? Remember, it goes back to some of those questions. So what is the reason? Well, it's just price. If it's just price, sometimes you can't win. If that's it. But if you can find other ways to keep half, 2/3 of those customers to come back by enhancing what you're doing now, you'll be a winner.
Thank you. We have one last question.
Yep.
Been very hard to hire good salespeople. Any ideas on what I should look for in terms of just assessing their ability to sell?
Oh, I love that question. I feel your pain, because I know it's very hard to find people that you say, that's who I want working here. Because we have this, fantasy in our life, in our mind, of what we think we're going to get or what we want. And then, we interview and we go, oh my God. Personality, I'm telling you, goes a long way. If somebody has a really good personality, they have a nice smile, I would buy something from them. That's what I'd look at. I don't care what they know. I don't care what their experience is. But if I look at them and go, boy, I love that person, I would buy something from them, hire them, because those are hard to come by. So don't always worry about their experience and, where they were before. Think about, this person has a great personality and I could build a lot around them.
Carmen, thank you so much for all of your insights and your time today. Many thanks to everyone who joined us. Registration is now open for a third webinar in the Small Business Survival Series titled Your Guide to Harnessing Data for Competitive Advantage. The session takes place on Thursday, October 29th from 11:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. More details can be found on our website at hbcu.org. We hope to see you there. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.